Our next speaker is the fantastic Anna Carballo from Transparency International Australia. And I believe that Anna is going to speak to us a little bit about, well, what does the energy transition actually mean for the mining sector? So everybody, please put your hands together for Anna. Round of applause. And I'll let Anna share her slides.
Thank you so much. I have some slides. I'm going to try and keep this kind of short so we have a little bit of a time for that dialogue later. But thank you so much for the opportunity of being here. For those of you who don't know what Transparency International is, we are a global movement that works against the fight. That works against corruption. So there is about over 100 chapters or offices all over the world, and I lead the Accountable Mining Program, which is a global program that is specifically dedicated to work on governance within the mining industry. And we have worked with over 23 countries, and we work on a range of issues from promoting governance and transparency and accountability measures across the value chain, particularly thinking in terms of community engagement with governments, community participation, and business integrity. We work with a lot of companies as well. So just I thought I would give a little bit of an outlook of what we are doing, and we have been working. The global program, the Accountable Mining Program, is based in Australia, and we have been working here for since 2016. We have what I was going to talk to you today is a report that we released last year at the end of November, so it's relatively recent, that looks a little bit about what are the main risks and governance risks associated with the emerging energy transition, particularly affecting and the way in which it will affect the mining sector. I'm sure a lot of these statistics for here are going to be well and truly known, but what we are seeing is an increase in exploration and an increase in projects all over the world connected to the energy transition, because, as most of you, I am sure, are very well aware, clean energy technologies are actually very mineral intensive, and so we can see a really high demand of critical minerals. And we are overall expecting, well, the International Energy Agency expects at the very least, and a conservative estimate of a fourfold increase of overall mineral demand by 2040 if we are to keep our Paris commitment. So of course this is one of the issues, is that we are currently, I'm just considering that you're seeing the current slides, right? No,
yeah,
you're seeing the slides.
Yeah, we are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because I'm working with two screens, and sometimes I show the wrong screen. Okay, excellent.
It's perfect.
So great. So one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that while there's going to be an overall increase in demand across the mining industry, this is going to look very differently across different minerals, and these minerals are obviously located in very different jurisdictions. And the volatility of the demand and unevenness of the demand and the way in which it will increase across different minerals is one of the areas in which we will see, or we are seeing, a lot of governance challenges emerging. This is because while the overall demand is increasing, this is in some minerals, for example, lithium, people are talking about the emergence of a white gold rush, or the emergence of a new rush for minerals, because we are expecting to see a 42 times increase by 2040 in the demand of lithium. And this is the report that I was mentioning, where we are trying to analyze and understand what are the main trends that we need to keep an eye on, and what are the policy recommendations that we have for the different stakeholders involved, from the communities all the way to companies and governments. We would need to try and understand what this will mean on the ground with the expansion of this project. And as I was saying, as this minerals are distributed, the reserves in all over the world, and while there are constantly new reserves being found and in exploratory projects like the one that we were just seeing from BHP, a very large percentage of the current known reserves are located in countries with weak governance credibility and weak governance ratings. And this is a graph that you can see here of the percentage of energy transition minerals located in countries which are considered to be having higher levels of corruption according to the measurements that Transparency International does. That I'm sure you have heard of, the Corruption Perceptions Index that is published annually. And this, of course, is an issue because we are not only seeing an increase of projects all over the world, but also an increase in weak jurisdictions. But the rapid growth of demand, weak governance jurisdictions to be more precise, but the rapid growth of demand for these minerals is not only increasing in these weak governance jurisdictions, but it's also bringing some speculative or can increase some speculative behavior, both from established players willing to enter into these weaker governance jurisdictions, but also by more involving, by the appearance or the emergence of more junior miners being involved or more stakeholders that do not have the sufficient anti-corruption capabilities, or not, they don't have enough experience to enter this field. In 2021, for example, we saw that junior miners, most of which have yet to produce any significant amounts of minerals, for lithium raised $500 million in investment in only 3 months, when it previously had taken almost 3 years to reach that level as well. So we are seeing that the emergence and the markets and the markets of specific minerals is rapidly heating up, and some of these new players that are entering the market are not sufficiently prepared to cope with the challenges that are of entering these high-risk jurisdictions. We are also seeing, which is also quite problematic or quite, I guess, concerning, we're also seeing a lot of fast-tracking of projects and strategic initiatives for the sector for critical minerals or green transition minerals. And we can see a lot of governments pushing, or initially in 2021, in late 2021 and 2022, a lot of these initiatives were also connected to the need to rebound the economic growth after the pandemic. But in general, we are seeing a very clear interest from governments all over the world to facilitate the expansion of green mineral transitions. And I'm talking about, for example, the recently created European Critical Raw Materials initiatives, or the calls from the Australian government to facilitate or to promote critical minerals. And this is by no means only exclusive to Australia. We see this kind of, or Europe, we see this kind of initiatives all over the global north and the global south. We in the report, you will see that there is a discussion of a lot of these tools. The Canadian and the US Chambers of Commerce, for example, issued statements to call their governments to strengthen their critical mineral strategy and introduce incentives to support their national mineral industries. Some governments have also created special licensing processes to try and facilitate and ensure that there is a smooth running of the projects leading to the extraction of green minerals. And this, of course, is a very high risk. Well, of course, it's understandable when we need to try and match a demand that is growing. It's a red flag in order to ensure that all the required measures to ensure that that the corruption challenges are addressed are given the time sufficient to be implemented properly. The fourth trend that we discuss is the increase of the state participation both in the extraction and the processing of the value chain, which in and of itself is not necessarily a problematic issue. However, it can heighten corruption risks, particularly when when state agencies are both responsible for extracting and at the same time for monitoring and clearing the processes of issuing new licenses and approving new projects. We see that there are a lot of risks that are of emerging corruption hotspots, especially in the context of increased pressure and competition in the market. We see a lot of initiatives from governments, both participating directly in projects or creating local contact requirements that can heighten this risk associated with state-owned enterprises, including bribery or other kind of corruption malpractices. And the last one that I also wanted to discuss, which is connected to the fact that some of these jurisdictions are high risks. Some of these high risks are not only associated to the levels of the legal frameworks or the weak governance institutions, but also they can be connected to other tensions. For example, tensions connected to food insecurity or conflicts or ecologically fragile environments. There's a recent study that was conducted by the University of Queensland, the Sustainable Minerals Institute, that looked at 5,000 new projects for critical minerals and found that almost 70% of all these projects were located in lands of indigenous peoples and peoples connected to the land, which of course are more vulnerable to being able to participate and have their rights respected during the consultation processes. There are also, for example, 80% of the lithium projects are located in areas of indigenous peoples, and a lot of, and almost 2/3, I think, are connected in areas that are with water scarcity. So the investments in these locations can exacerbate some of the social, political, and environmental tensions, even in areas where we have higher risks, higher governance standards. And so just to finish, I think what we try to discuss in the report is try to understand in which ways we can mitigate some of these challenges and how can we think of possibilities to both meet the demand that we are seeing, but also ensuring that our governance standards are maintained, and to prevent that a new resource course will emerge to some of these countries. And I think one of the main issues is here to ensure that community consultation processes are robust and inclusive throughout the entire process, throughout the entire value chain. We need to ensure that communities are engaged and are able to monitor as well and to participate throughout the lifetime of a mine, from exploration all the way to the closure. We need to improve transparency and accountability requirements for the mining sector, for like ensuring that standards like the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative standard are maintained. And we need to take steps to strengthen that our anti-corruption measures are strong across the entire mining sector. And I think that would be it from me, Sarah. I tried to keep it to 10 minutes, but I think I went a little bit over.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. Round of applause, everybody, for the fabulous Anna Carballo. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Anna, I cannot share enough with you actually how useful these reports are to people. I know a lot of people who have their nose inside them the whole time, and it's not just this one, but I think there was a previous report, a corruption report as well, I think, that is available. And then, am I correct in saying you've got like a business integrity tool that's been put together?
Yeah, we have
as well.
Yeah, so we have like the entire program has a series of reports on different areas. This was just on the energy transition and critical minerals, but we work across the entire cycle of the value chain, and we have a lot of reports on different countries, country level reports, but also, as you well are mentioning, we also have tools specifically designed to work within the company. So we have worked, for example, we have worked with a lot of companies using them to try and help them understand whether their anti-corruption capabilities are strong enough and where they can be strengthened, or where they can be, where there are gaps that they can issue. So yeah, I think the website has been shared, but otherwise, yeah, I'd be happy. I think I put my email, but I would be happy to connect with anyone who's interested in.
Yeah, no. So I think Ludovine has already preempted you and put the website into the chat, because she's one of the individuals who says, yes, I use these reports the whole time, which is great. And Anna, just a question. So from your perspective, in terms of saying, look, this is what's going on, and here are some of the potential threats and opportunities with regards to us getting this right. Actually, treading that line can sometimes be quite difficult, because depending on different stakeholders, sometimes people think, okay, hang on a second, you work with industry, so therefore you must be pro-industry, or you work with, other NGOs, or you work with governments, etc. How do you find kind of, again, being able to be neutral in that space, and the perception of other people who may kind of go, oh, no, well, you're not saying what I want you to say? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think it is a complicated space to be in, for sure. And we have, Transparency International has always prided itself in being an organization that looks into partnering and collaborating with every stakeholder involved. So we work with communities. We have a lot of projects at community level. We work with governments. We work with a lot of companies. We work with international organizations. Sometimes this has led to some situations. Some of the stakeholders sometimes have very conflicting views, and yet they are both willing to work with us. So we sometimes have been in that situation of having to mediate. But we strongly believe that engaging with a variety of stakeholders and providing a space to discuss and to improve these conversations, and to ensure that everybody is having a space to promote their perspective is very important, to ensure accountability, particularly ensuring that the spaces are inclusive, that they're inclusive across different communities, and that we give everyone the opportunity to present their cases, I think.
So is that a situation then where, because you are a trusted partner of those different stakeholders, you can almost provide the bridge and begin to get them to listen to one another? Or
we try, and sometimes, and it might look very different in different occasions, right? Because sometimes we work with communities that, and we put forward the demands of the community quite strongly in front of stakeholders that are not necessarily paying sufficient attention to them. Sometimes this looks also into facilitating dialogue with these communities from government initiatives, or we have had, it really depends also in the country project and in the country we're working on. So we had, for example, people working at artisanal scale mining in Zimbabwe, but we also have an initiative working with the parliament with the Congress in Mongolia, creating with a chamber of commerce. While in Colombia, the chapter works a lot with the companies as well. So it really depends on in which area we work, but yeah, it is a complicated space sometimes to occupy.
Complicated but fascinating. So
I know it is very useful, I believe.
It is indeed. It is useful. We can confirm that. So brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. It's been brilliant, and I'm pretty sure that everyone has already clicked on your website and will be there taking a good look at all the reports if they haven't already done so. So everyone, please put your hands together for the fabulous Anna.
Thank you so much.
And of course, cheers, Anna. Brilliant.